Okay, you're good. Oh shit, should have started recording earlier. Oh well.
I'll go over it briefly on Friday as well.
Okay.
But basically, do you guys see this line over here? Configure socket IO. So basically, why you want something over here to be configured with socket IO is because after somebody posts a story and you try saving the story to your database, if you're successful, it will run the code inside here. So we want it so if something successfully got saved to our database, we find some way to communicate to our client that you posted a story. So that is why we have a comment here. And I don't really have time to write all the code, even though it's really short, so I'm just going to go to the, I think it's under advanced. Oh, git checkout. Okay, and as you can see, there's some more code here now. So basically, the setup for socket IO in the backend starts in app.js, and we'll go over this maybe a little bit later, but as you guys can, if you sense like a theme in the class, whenever we create something or we have some new technology that we're using, if it's for the server, you always need to connect it back in app.js in some way. So what we have is, if you can scroll down, right here. 3 lines. And I think there's also an import. Yep, an import right here. So basically, you use this server right here, HTTP server app. If you guys look in your own app.js, you'll probably have the same server object, which was used elsewhere. And underneath that, you use this socket IO object that you required earlier. Basically, as you imported it, you called it socket IO. So now you're using the tools from this socket IO library. Basically, it's just going to initialize a port. And what we want to do is we want to use this IO object in other places of our code. So Node.js has a kind of tip that you can do. It's actually an express thing that you can type app.set. And basically, what that means is if you go into api.js, if you ever do app.get, then it's going to be able to access that IO object we created earlier. You have to do rec.app.get. Honestly, I'm not sure why, but that's just how Express works. So we have this IO object, and basically, whenever anybody posts something, we want to do io.emit and post. And basically, if you guys can remember how our database was structured, this io.emit post looks identical to how it's structured in our database. Everything has an ID, everything has the user has an ID, user has a name, and we're going to send all of this we're going to emit it. And what emitting does is basically the client can see that a message has been emitted at any point in time without having to refresh their page. That's just something that socket IO lets you do. It's kind of magical. So if you guys want, this probably is incorrect, but like a server is continuously running, waiting for something to interact with it, socket IO does like a mini version of that on the client side. It's continually listening to see if anyone's going to emit a message to it. So it's kind of building a mini server on your client, conceptually. I don't know if it's actually doing that. So this is what you want to do if somebody makes a post. And same thing, if somebody writes a comment, after you save the comment, you want to emit that it's a comment, and you do that by over here, and then all the information that you normally get in a comment. So that's all you have to do to get socket IO fully set up in your server. Everyone roughly understand this conceptually. The code will be there for you guys to listen to, and I'll do a brief overview on Friday how to do this stuff. So I'm going to open briefly. Maybe I'll do this. Where is? And just wait for me 1 second. I can do this. Is there any way to get it so it splits the view?
Scroll to the top. Not scroll, like, yeah. Click on the view.
View?
Yeah.
basically, this is this is again what we had in our API.js for comment, and it's the same thing for post, but for the correct things. And over here in our index.js, as you guys can see, the code has changed a little bit. We have this socket, which is basically using this magical IO function. And the reason why you can use this IO function is because you import it. And just to show you that you import it, I will go to index.html. Index.html. As you guys can see right here, I import socket.io right here. And I actually think we made a little file for it, if I am correct in JS. Sorry. Doesn't really, so you import it right there. Again, the specifics I'm a little unclear on because I did this actually a few weeks ago, but I'll go over on Friday. I'm just trying to teach you guys a little precursor to what socket will do. And in our index.js right here, remember how when you posted something, we emitted a post or we emitted a comment? Same thing. Socket can listen on a post, and it can listen to a comment. And basically, you supply it a callback function. So basically, whenever anybody emits a message under the post name, this guy will trigger. If anyone emits a comment, it will trigger this guy as well. So that's all it is. It's super simple. And if you guys, what you actually have to do is basically, after you get a post, you just grab the stories, the div which contains all the stories, and you add a new story. You prepend a story DOM object with the message and the user. And if you guys remember the story DOM object, which created a story, one of the inputs was JSON. But what's really nice about Socket is that the message that it inputs to you is already a JSON object. And we styled it so it's the correct format. So it's really simple to get Socket working on the front end. And for the comment, it's the same thing. Basically, you need to grab the div where the comments should belong, and you just add a new comment object. So that's all you have to do to get Socket to work on the front end. And let's just give a quick idea of what it looks like. So if I escape, or how do I get out of full screen? Robert, how do I use a map? How do I escape full screen?
The green thing, just click on it again.
This guy?
Yeah.
Hey, nice. So npm install in case we need any dependencies. And npm start. Great. So our sponsor lecture is about to start, and with that, I just can show you guys really briefly.
Go to the corner.
So if you go here, and you go to localhost 3000, we have our cat book. We can log in, and we can be like hello, and submit, and it will automatically apply the update. And if you guys, I don't know how to right click on this computer. There you go. But basically, I'll do a quick overview again of this on Friday. But this was just kind of a precursor on how Socket.io works. Basically, you emit messages from your server, and your client listens to certain types of messages. And if you guys want to have a chat platform, or any platform that live updates without having to refresh, you'll want to look into it. Now for our sponsor lectures on GraphQL.
Sounds good. So we're just recording, if that's okay with you, so like microphone is